I already hit record, but it's fine. What
Nice
a sweet ass.
You can't script that. You can't fucking script that. That was beautiful.
I was recording too.
I missed it.
You walk out of the frame. I'm like, nice ass. Like, that's a sweet ass.
Oh, yeah.
Like at the same time. It was perfect.
Imagine if I squatted.
Boy,
Oh,
sin
Jenny. Richard Jenny.
Oh, Richard Jenny. Comedy specials.
It brought laughter to millions. And what a sweet ass.
Got a sweet ass.
Oh, my God.
Fuck. All right. Well, hey, we're a minute into the recording and I'm already crying from laughter. That's a good sign. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Tougies Take podcast, and likely the final edition of 2022. Gentlemen, we have reached the end of another year, I think, second full year of this podcast. You know, you guys have been on for over a year now. A show that started off as friends joking about hockey has continued as friends joking about other stuff and sometimes hockey. I wouldn't have it any other way. Sin, how are you doing on this fine Friday? 2 days before Christmas.
Oh, yeah. I'm doing pretty good.
Christmas.
You know, have a fun game of Warhammer. And, yeah, that's about all that's been going on in my life.
It's all you need.
Yeah.
It's all you need. Warhammer and squats.
Yeah, I don't even squat.
No?
No. I mean, I do like fucking elliptical shit when I'm at the gym. I always start off with like 15 minutes of cardio, do 2 miles on the elliptical, and then hit the
There you
weights.
He's a wrecking machine.
Because, you know, women love a vascular man.
Well, Endo, can you top that as an intro?
No, I can't. Hi, everyone. Hello. I'm here. I'm eating chunky soup because, you know, I gotta get thick like sin. That's my New Year resolution, to get thick like sin.
Why am I the
That should be
one?
everyone's resolution.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's a revolution. Getting thick like sin. Today, gentlemen, outside of discussing a few things that have happened over the past couple of days in the hockey world, for the most part, we are going to look back at the biggest stories in the hockey world of 2022. I have prepared this little run sheet here and, elected, as we talked about, to keep a lot of what we're going to discuss, as a surprise up until the moment, just to have those, oh yeah, shit, that happened this year type of moments, because this has been a long year. It doesn't feel like it now that we're at the end of it, but man, once we get into some of these topics, it's going to be like, oh yeah, that happened this year too. It's one of those wild years like that. So I'm looking forward to seeing how fondly we're going to be able to look back on the year that was.
Is it going to be just all hockey related, or is it going to be like you pulling up like facts about us, like Nardwar, the human serviette? And you're going to be like, well, Endo, remember you tried to get canceled like 3 times in like the span of a month. Like, how did that make you feel? I'm like, I forgot about that. Thanks, Nardwar.
You know, number one, no. Secondly, only 3 times?
Only 3 times.
Were the other dozen you trying to get me canceled?
Hey, no, I'm just adding some. It's just like was it like Thanksgiving? I'm adding some flavor to your whatever you're cooking up there. You put the salt and pepper and bringing in like the fucking lemon.
Thank you for insinuating the white guy needs help with the spices. Appreciate you.
I'm not insinuating. Look, man, they just say look at this podcast and say, listen, one of them needs help with the spices. I'm not going to say which one. 1 in 3 chance, okay?
Not the guy who talks about carne asada tacos at every possible turn.
No, burritos.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
see?
Yeah. Yep, see,
Right.
There you go. I proved the point. There you go.
There you go.
Done played yourself, you know?
I put fucking
Unbelievable.
hot sauce on everything.
Mm-hmm.
I put that shit on everything.
Oh, all right,
man.
it's time for Sin's Top 5 Burrito Countdown to wrap up 2022.
Heck, this is a wrap and a.
Uh-huh.
I get you.
Yep. Everyone loves when jokes are explained.
Holy hell.
We have fun here. We do. We do.
I'm just gonna shut up and eat my fucking soup.
Well, good. While you eat your soup, let's talk about the fine world of grooming oneself. Because this podcast, as always, is brought to you by our lovely friends at Manscaped.com. You can go to Manscaped.com. You can use code Tougie, that's Tougie, for 20% off your order and free shipping. Again, while the time might be just about over to... Well, I don't know. If you could get a delivery from them in a day before Sunday, then hey, I mean, all the more reason to support our lovely friends at Manscaped. But it's never too late. It's never the wrong time to take advantage of the tools that Manscaped provide. The best tools for the job, the right tools for the job. Treat yourself well. Our friends at Manscaped. As always, head to toe, they got you covered. And we thank them for sponsoring this show. Gentlemen, couple of quick things here before we get into kind of talking about the year review that happened over the past couple of days. Last night, the Vancouver Canucks won a game. Can't believe it. That's for the first time in 2022 and probably the last time. Elias Pettersson had a 5-point night in the same night that they allowed 5 goals for the 15th time this season.
Holy shit.
Any guesses how many games they've played on the year?
For the how many times did you say it was?
They have allowed 5 goals or more 15 times this season.
They've only played like 30 games, if that.
25.
32.
Wow.
Jesus Christ.
So just
almost
under
50% of their games they've allowed. Holy hell, man.
Yeah. Wow.
Yep.
Their team GAA.
Not good.
Oh my God. It's got to be a closing on 4.
In terms of goals allowed, only San Jose, who have played 3 more games than them, have allowed more. Columbus have allowed 3 more goals. And then there's Anaheim.
Yeah.
Vancouver's allowed 127. Anaheim's allowed 143.
Yeah, so Vancouver's goals against average is 397 as a team. That's atrocious. Hold on, what was Anaheim's?
They've allowed 143 goals, and I believe it was 35 games.
Theirs is 408.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh boy.
Oh,
we probably won't talk about how bad the Ducks are right now enough. But, we're just kind of waiting to see what their approach is in the new year in terms of staff and, whether or not certain players move on.
Bob Murray is going to come back. He's going to fire the coach and go behind the bench again. Do you guys remember that when Bob Murray fired the coach and just went behind the bench himself?
Can you make it much worse? Maybe, maybe not.
Oh, man.
So, shout out to the Canucks, but hey, Anaheim fans, you're going to keep catching strays this season for as long as your team continues to be this bad. My God.
Sorry, Smoot.
Brent Burns last night became the 17th defender in NHL history to reach 800 career points. One of the kind of talking points that we will have are some of the trades that went down this year. We haven't gotten to see the full benefit Carolina will have with Max Pacioretty. But yeah, needless to say, the acquisition of Brent Burns has helped significantly on the season so far. He has a grand total of 23 points in 33 games.
Not too bad.
He is 37 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Brent Burns. Like, Sin, this is just your chance to wax poetic about one of the best players in your franchise, your favorite franchise's history.
Oh, I love the guy. Like, he's a character and an incredibly solid player. He's still again, still insanely productive, as you can see. He's never been amazing defensively, but he's not atrocious, like, as some people would think. And he's just has insane offensive skills, and the dude keeps himself in incredible shape, especially in the off season, as he just goes to his ranch and only hunts like the meat that he eats. He's a fucking wild man. But yeah, the fact that he's 37 and still being productive in that way as a defenseman, probably not even playing on the top pairing. He might be, but I don't know. Like, he's at least getting 20 minutes a night, most likely.
Betting odds on Brent Burns upon the completion of his NHL career that he appears on one of the reality TV survival shows.
In his last season.
I mean, fucking Mark Hoppus was on one, so anything's possible.
Fair enough. And the final note last night, too, I think it was last night, it might have been the night before, but Roman Josi became the Nashville Predators all-time leading scorer. Reminder, he is a defenseman. It might also just go to show,
31.
It might also go to show it's like, yeah, Nashville, it's like, well, you were competing with David Legwand, which, don't get me wrong, I love to meet some David Legwand, but, you know.
Not the most prolific scorer.
Yeah, not the stiffest competition, old David Legwand.
Yeah, high turnover rate, apparently, in Nashville over the years. They never really had the guy.
Man, you go back through those old EA NHL titles like I did, and you look at Nashville, and it's like, man, you really didn't have like that super high-end scoring for a long time.
No,
you know, it was always guys like Legwand, Erat, Steve Sullivan,
JP Dumont,
Scott
scored
Hartnell
on the Sharks all the time. Just only scored on the Sharks.
Yeah. I mean, you know, a lot of people made a career out of scoring goals on the Sharks.
I mean, not recent. Well, not through the 2010s, man. The Sharks were amazing.
Fair. And then there was the Nabokov era, and then it's like, hey, well, we have Vesa Toskala and Thomas Greiss and Antti Niemi, and
we had Kiprasov for a while. That's where he came from, the Sharks.
Yeah. EA NHL, he was the 67 until he went to Calgary, and then like, yep, he's great.
What? A 67?
Oh yeah, he never had a good rating while he was.
Dude, that's insane, because he was really good on the Sharks. Like,
yeah.
The disrespect.
I mean, he was like 1A, 1B with Nabokov, and then there's a year when Toskala and Nabokov essentially split the net, and then Toskala was in for the playoffs. That was when they went to the conference finals.
That's an amazing accomplishment that we don't talk enough about. Vesa Toskala took a team to a conference finals appearance.
Yeah. I mean, you go to the Leafs as a goaltender and you get fucked. Who knew? Of course it happens.
Fair enough. Only other thing we were going to mention here is, and it was something that you brought up, the Tomas Hertl suspension that we didn't get a chance to talk about. And if there was anything else that you guys think I'm forgetting, hey, feel free to chime in. But I don't really have too much to add about the Hertl suspension aside from, yeah, he deserved it. But Sin, you kind of mentioned this before. Did the incident kind of need to get to the point that it did?
No, because if you call all the cross checks that Lindholm kept doing off the draws, then like maybe you don't get that kind of reaction. At the same time, it's obviously not the right reaction. I'm not excusing what he fucking did. You don't swing your stick at someone's face. That's just inexcusable, and he knows better than that. But yeah, again, it's. Remember when NHL was going to crack down on cross checks? It happened for like a week in preseason and then was never heard from again.
Yep.
But yeah, Lindholm just kept cross checking him twice every time off the draw. Literally every time off the draw, I'd cross check him twice.
Yeah. There's a reason as to why we have started to discuss officiating, penalties, what isn't a penalty. Like there was a moment, I think in a Penguins-Rangers game where there was a really controversial non-call on a trip. It just all leads back to the same conversation about the standard of officiating, how the NHL conducts themselves. And it's a conversation that, frankly, I'm tired of having. So we really haven't discussed like suspensions or anything like that too much.
It's the same shit over and over.
It is, and it's just not going to change. It's, yeah, it's officiating. With that, 2022, the year that was and is nearly over, of course. let's talk about arguably the biggest stories in no particular order, but the biggest stories of the year. And we'll start off with the Colorado Avalanche winning their first Stanley Cup in 21 years. Sin and I waking up to the news in Finland because we didn't stay up late enough to actually watch it happen. Again, to people, that aren't based in North America, that follow North American sports, all the power to you. I don't know how you do it.
Yeah.
Like, just in terms of making that schedule work, I do not understand how you do it. It was very convenient, though, Sin. There were a couple of occasions where it's like, yeah, well, all right, let's wake up and watch the highlights from last night and see who won. So that was our consumption for the most part of the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah.
But Nazem Kadri becomes the first Muslim to win the Stanley Cup, which was phenomenal. You had the Avs heading to the White House, where
oh man,
Victor Hedman was caught dying laughing at Joe Biden naming NHL Commissioner Gary Batman.
That was amazing.
Maybe my favorite moment of the year.
A president always mispronounces something. I mean, like almost every time, especially when it comes to hockey, because they just don't get
especially
it. Like
when it's fucking Biden.
Bill fucking Clinton called Steve Yzerman Steve Yzerman.
Steve Yzerman.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Oh man,
God, but the Avs team just stacked. I mean, we obviously talked about it a lot throughout the year and leading up to June, but just an absolutely stacked team. Tampa, on the other hand, it ended their 11 playoff series win streak, losing in the Cup final, nearly winning 3 in a row. We actually talked recently, of course, about John Cooper and what could have been had he been fired after the Blue Jackets debacle. But the biggest takeaway, arguably, aside from Gary Batman, Corey Perry became the first player to be on 3 straight losing Cup Finals teams each year with a different team.
Poor guy, man. He's the new Jerome McGinley.
Yeah, God. Ugh. Now I'm sad.
Sorry.
Whereas everyone's happy about Corey Perry. Yeah. Now I'm just sad.
I always hated the guy, but then like when he's not on that immediate rival team, it's like I kind of respected him. Like towards the end, like I'm like, yeah, he does a lot of good shit. He's cool.
I do agree. The second kind of overly notable thing that really affected everything this year, of course, you can't talk hockey without talking about a world event, and that being everything with Ukraine and Russia, because we talked about it. we talked about it on the last show because we were discussing Alex Ovechkin's 800th career goal. The start of this year was very much Alex Ovechkin in the spotlight for negative reasons. A lot of people bringing up, like, here's his connections to the Putin regime and just how intrinsically tied to this is he. And, of course, the discussion over how much of a choice does he have versus, it was all of that. It was all of that. And you had... God, Dominik Hasek was in enough headlines this year, making his opinions very fucking clear. Probably going a bit far,
Yeah.
A bit far in that, but for Ovechkin in particular, because we'll continue to talk as we get into kind of discussing the world tournaments that happened this year here in a minute. For Ovechkin, like I said, that's where we started, but where we are now. He had his response of, please, no more war. And then all of a sudden, a lot of the critiques went away and it went right back to like, oh, is he going to catch Gretzky? And that's very much where the conversation is right now.
Yeah.
So very interesting year for Alex Ovechkin. And in regards to the Russia effect on the world of hockey, 2 other major ways here. The first would be the Ivan Fedotov saga. the Flyers goalie who was going to come over, and at this point is now still likely in a Russian penal colony.
That or conscripted.
One or the other. That is it's just a depressing situation to talk about in general, but that was very much one of the biggest stories of this year. And then you have the world tournaments that Russia was very much, barred from, essentially, by the way, the Olympics happened this year. That blew my mind. I did not remember that the Olympics took place this year.
Yeah.
But that happened.
Yeah. Oof.
And Russia was there under the ROC banner again, not under their actual banner. They were outright barred from the World Juniors, as were Belarus. Of course, that tournament was supposed to take place at the end of 2021, but due to COVID, it took place this August, which was very bizarre. Not exactly the best turnout for another reason we'll talk about in a minute. Worth noting, of course, for the World Juniors, Canada beating Finland in the final. Sweden finished third. Of course, you had the likes of Mason McTavish's all-time goal line save for Canada that helped kind of lead the way, which was one of the better hockey moments this year. That's a play that, I mean, say what you want about Hockey Canada, but whenever you talk about Canada and the World Juniors, that is one of the clips that you'll see. It's right up there with Jordan Eberle's tying goal and so on and so forth.
Man, the Eberle call is absolutely ruined.
I
can, because it just happened. I'm like, what?
Pierre Maguire is the best. He's the best. Most knowledgeable, number one, Pierre Maguire.
Just stick him between the benches. That's it. Just shove him there.
I thought you were going to say shove him in a locker.
No. I'm not
nerd.
that mean. Fucking hockey facts. I just want to hear them play puck. God damn it.
You shove him in that locker, he'd tell you when it was designed.
This locker here, it's a Perlman.
Shut up! No, Don Cherry. No,
that's one of the stories of the year for this podcast. The emergence of the Don. But, again, like how the whole Russian situation tied into these tournaments with the World Juniors, with the Olympics as well. Russia, in air quotes, made the Olympic gold medal game, losing 2-1 to who?
Germany.
Finland.
Oh, Finland wins
yeah.
gold for the first time. That happened this year.
That's crazy.
I don't remember it.
I kind of remember now because when we came over, they're like, "Oh yeah, you should have been here," to see all the celebration.
Right. Exactly. Now that I've like, oh yeah, that's when that happened. It's like, yeah, if only we could have been here a few months earlier.
Crazy.
But yeah, and then like the World Championships were in Finland too, and they had success there. Like this was a banner year for Finnish hockey. Now, it is worth noting, of course, you had the whole Russian controversy surrounding the Olympics. NHL players, of course, failed to go yet again. Also worth noting at the Olympics, Slovakia won bronze. It was their first ever Olympic hockey medal. And the women's tournament, Canada beat the United States in the final, and Finland took third in that. So we're talking about Finland medaling at the Olympics in both the men and women's game. They medaled at the World Juniors as well. A really banner year for the Finnish game, which is awesome.
Kunnia Suomelle.
Yes.
Sen and I just carrying the banner for non-Finnish fans. And we will continue to do so. But, like I said, you had everything with the Russia stuff. We've talked about that to death. I don't really know if there's too much else that we can add to that, having, explained the effect that it had both on the NHL side of things and the international tournaments. And then there was another... I'm not comparing them, but another controversial governing body, shall we say, that very much had a negative effect on hockey this year. That being Hockey Canada.
Yeah.
Not exactly a great year for them from so many different, past stories and allegations coming to light, sexual assault allegations. You had sponsors abandoning ship. And this story is still developing. Yesterday, CBC News put out the headline, Hockey Canada paid out $2.9 million in settlements this fiscal year using player registration fees.
Hold on, this year?
Yes.
That's so much.
Yep. So I don't know if that's business as usual. I doubt it. And if it is, boy, does it still read as a horrible, horrible headline.
Like does that for the case that just happened, or is that unrelated?
It says settlements. Not settlement, settlements.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that's kind of like the overarching theme of the year, unfortunately, is just everything kind of looming overhead. And again, to two different degrees. But everything looming overhead, like this year, you can't escape talking about anything, let alone sport, especially hockey, without, the Russian factor essentially being there. And then everything that's gone on with Hockey Canada. It has been a rather difficult year in that regard, is the only way to put it. And again, these stories are still going. Like I said, that Hockey Canada news report came out yesterday. So this is still a very much ongoing thing. And obviously, it's tough to say if any side of it will actually get better anytime soon.
Yeah, well, losing sponsorships, they're going to maybe start charging a $8 membership fee.
Well, funny you talk about that, because the prices recently have come out for the upcoming World Junior tournaments. And yeah. So this is being held in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and Moncton, New Brunswick, starting December 26th. This Monday, the World Juniors start, which is weird to think about. And one of the biggest stories there are ticket prices, because Hockey Canada, how much are they tied into the ticket prices? Who's to say? But yeah, ticket prices for the World Juniors are fucking sky high right now to try and recoup. And the World Juniors that just happened in August, for a variety of reasons, but especially Hockey Canada's controversies. Yeah, it sold terribly, and presumably, same thing is going to happen here potentially. Time will tell. Great year for Hockey Canada, 2022, and with the news that came out from Rick Westhead in the past week that there is the thought that there is enough out there that I think it was like up to 5 players could potentially face charges. Yeah, those stories are going to continue into next year. Like, just the idea of 2022, the year of the Russian controversy, the Hockey Canada controversies, and it stays in 2022. Yeah, that's not happening. These are still ongoing, obviously. And a hard right turn, because how can you go from talking about probably definitely the two most serious negatives of the year? There was the implementation of digital board ads this year, which were recently defended very much so by one Gary Batman. How have you two adapted towards watching the games with the board ads? Have you just reached the point where the NHL wanted you to be, where it's just like, fuck it, whatever it is, what it is?
I mean, I don't know. I don't give a fuck. Like,
yeah, I couldn't really care, honestly.
I feel like it's not even that big of a deal. I don't know.
Yeah,
like,
people are freaking out.
I don't want. This is a year where I'm not watching the Sharks close enough to fucking notice. Like, there's only so much shit hockey I can watch before my mental health suffers. I don't like to be frustrated while I watch a sport that I love. Like, I'm just watching my team be absolute ass. Like, so I don't know. Like, yeah, they were different, but I don't know, man.
Yeah, I haven't really given a care. A lot of the broadcasts that I watch, they have them. Like, do all feeds have them?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah, all regional networks. It doesn't matter if it's a nationally televised game. They are there and here to stay.
yeah, like
So
I didn't
what
really
is-
care, honestly. Like it just popped up. I was like, oh, that's like on there. Okay, cool, whatever. I don't know. I watch hockey for hockey. I'm not watching the fucking Subway ad go around with a giant foot long just going across the entire boards. Like I don't care about that. Like I can go
Well, it
watch
is
hockey.
funny when there's like a car ad and it makes it look like someone gets hit by a car mid-play, which happens. That is a thing that happens.
When you put it that way, it's pretty comical. But
Yeah,
like,
there was a God, I know I can find it here in relatively quick fashion too. There was a moment where it looked like Josh Anderson was getting hit by a car. I just put it in the Zencaster feed here.
oh man, I gotta
But
see that.
it's amazing. Like literally, like he's behind the back of the net, and then all of a sudden a car ad starts. It just looks like he's gonna get run the fuck over.
I thought he was gonna get fucking floored.
It's the best. In that regard, it's the best, but it's also
The movement. That's very distracting. Like, have them be static,
Yes.
I feel like.
Yeah,
that's been the big complaint from it is primarily I'd say
Okay.
the moving ads.
I definitely haven't been paying close enough attention because all I've really seen are static ones or very, very limited movement. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
I have
man.
not seen a fucking car streak across the boards. What the hell? Canada, you're on one.
oh man.
a
Someone
beautiful
says
thing.
that's a suspension. I'm like, okay. And this one says the car already has two suspensions already, one in the front, one in the rear. What a fucking
License
dad joke.
revoked.
God.
I mean, it's
Uh,
made
Car's
for
a
good
repeat
moments.
offender. Would get fined $1,500 max allowable under the CBA.
In a dinner with George Peros.
The car is dinner.
A certificate of appreciation from George Peros and a
So why'd you do it?
What the fuck?
Jesus.
Fair enough.
Amazing. An interesting year as well for the Florida Panthers, and we'll talk about quite a few teams specifically, but I want to start off with them. One of the more underrated aspects of their calendar year, they became the first team to ditch Ticketmaster in favor of SeatGeek. Now, it's been a rough year for Ticketmaster in general, especially after the whole Taylor Swift ticket price debacle.
Oh yeah.
So hopefully, maybe, I don't know, the Florida Panthers, are you a catalyst for a positive change? It's like, you know, they're just like the little kid in the corner. It's like, I help too. Well, it's Taylor Swift fans who are pissed, but hopefully that monopoly can get broken up sometime soon with Ticketmaster Live Nation. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, they just have 10,000 fees connected to things. Like, it's crazy. And like, yeah,
Yep.
what are you gonna do about it, motherfucker?
It's, yeah. That honestly, like outside, like in a general sense, not even just sports, but obviously like concerts and everything like that. Like the Ticketmaster discussion really kind of kicked off this year, and in the last couple of weeks, like I said, after the after Taylor Swift fans realized how expensive it was to see her live and in concert, so rough times there. But the Panthers this year won their first playoff series since 1996. They followed that up by getting swept by the Tampa Bay Lightning in the second round, which, little brother, you know, what are you going to do? And there was also the highlight of Kodak Black fucking in a press box.
It's
I
the
don't
best.
think he was actually fucking, but
He
yeah.
wasn't, but boy, didn't it look like it.
Yeah. It absolutely did.
Little gyrations.
Dirty wine.
That was one of the highlights of the year. Is just the hysteria over the thought of, is this man having sex in this guest box?
Yeah, and then he got like banned, and I don't know if they revoked that or.
And Luongo's looking over like,
Luongo was perhaps the highlight of that. Yeah, I mean, in general, it was Luongo and a couple of other people that you just see kind of looking over, trying to see what the hell was going on. An amazing, amazing moments. Kodak Black, one of the best moments of 2022.
best halftime performance. Kodak Black. Intermission. They usually put a band on. No, just Kodak Black. Just fucking laying pipe.
Jesus. Oh my god.
There were a lot of major retirements in this calendar year as well. Duncan Keith, but good riddance. Zdeno Chara finally
Good riddance.
retired.
Good riddance for Hut Lords. Holy shit.
Oh, you're not gonna like. They're still gonna have a 99 Chara in Ultimate.
Of course.
They're gonna have a 99 Douglas. Curtis Douglas. Just take over.
There you go. But yeah, Zdeno Chara's gone. Tuukka Rask is gone. Rough year for
Patrick
for us
Marleau's
Bruins
gone.
fans. Patrick Marleau. I mean, really, the California three. All three teams losing a club legend. The Ducks losing Ryan Getzlaf, the Sharks losing Patrick Marleau, and the Kings losing Dustin Brown. Like a huge, like a change in era.
Two of these
California
things
teams.
are not like the other.
One of these things has a statue already on the front of the arena. Jesus.
Right?
Yeah, it's not him squirting the water bottle backwards. What a fucking missed opportunity. That could have been the fountain. Like, you absolute morons. That's clearly his most favorite picture. Yeah, make a fountain. Just meme it because he's such a meme player. Like,
Amazing.
You press the crest on the Kings logo and it just shoots the water out.
He's gonna have that fucking I can count to potato face on and shit.
Holy shit. It's amazing.
God damn.
Oh man.
That should have been a thing.
Should have been an engineer.
Oh, God.
Well, if you
I
have
could have been an architect.
100K, you can invest it in becoming an
No.
engineer.
I almost spent that much on fucking film school, and I didn't even get a degree.
I got nowhere to go with that.
That's
Spent
fine.
two
It's the
and a
U.S.
half
education
K.
system. I
Oh,
may
you think-
finish a degree, but it'll be in Finland if I do, and
There
get
you
paid
go.
to go to school.
Yeah,
go.
imagine that. That's, yeah.
Just work. Just live in
I'm
the
sad
sports
again.
gamer office. You're fine.
Imagine a good fucking system.
Oh, God.
Let me know when
Jason
you find
Spezza
one.
and PK Subban also retired.
A good fucking system right there.
Oh,
Spets.
God. It almost feels like going into a different era. And there were some other names too that I didn't mention, but those were arguably the biggest of just like, yeah, shit, this is.
Jumbo has not officially retired, but you feel that coming.
I don't know how. Like, when is he going to make this official, or is he coming back for a playoff run? Like, what the hell?
For who? He's been hanging out with the Sharks, man. Like, he's been at games. He's been up in, like, the GM box and shit. Like,
It's like, does he just play the month of April as a Shark? Like, does he have a milestone to play for? Like, why
I don't
hasn't
know.
he retired?
I don't think so. The man
It's
just
like Justin Williams coming back out of fucking nowhere to do another playoff run.
or Mike Fisher.
Yeah, I was going to say, it was Mike Fisher, right? Who
Oh, Mike
retired
Fisher.
for half a season and came back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Didn't they make the cup that season and then lost?
they did. They did.
No, that was 2017. Damn.
It nearly worked out for him, and now he gets to go home and cry to Carrie Underwood about it.
Yeah,
Tough life.
lucky man.
Tough life. Speaking of Nashville, Pekka Rinne had his number retired by the team. Henrik Lundqvist had his number retired by the Rangers, and Marian Hossa's number was retired in
What?
Chicago.
What?
Yes, that is a thing that
What?
happened.
I feel
Recently.
like I remember that, and then I just ew. He was on there for like a year. What? Hold on.
He was there. He was there for a little bit, but
Yeah.
Was he?
yeah,
Didn't he go there after they lost to Detroit?
he was on Detroit. So Marian Hossa, he was on Pittsburgh
That's
when they
yeah.
lost to Detroit. He was
Yeah.
then on Detroit when they
Detroit,
lost
then
to
they lost to
Pittsburgh,
Pittsburgh.
Yeah, okay,
and then went
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
Chicago.
For some reason I got Chicago confused with Pittsburgh, or I got the Stanley Cups confused between. Yeah,
Yeah, I
was
remember
weird.
that. That was
Yeah.
funny. I remember laughing at that as a kid. Like, can't win with them? I'll join them. Can't win with them? Fuck, I'll go somewhere else.
He was almost Corey Perry before Corey Perry,
Yeah,
except
but
he won in 2010, unfortunately, as we've discovered. But yeah, he was on Chicago for 8 years. So,
What the
not bad.
fuck? That's crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was that long.
Mm.
Huh.
Time flies, right?
Then he got allergic to the pads.
Yeah,
Just in time.
that's
Just in time for cap relief.
the timing of that really is still suspect, isn't it? I
Yeah.
believe the official story, but the timing is a little bit suspect.
It's
That's all.
Chicago, dude, so they do not get any benefit of the doubt ever.
And speaking of not getting any benefit of the doubt, let's talk about Vegas really quickly.
Yeah.
Oh.
There was the Evgeny Dodonov trade debacle, trying to send him away at the deadline while
Who's your
his no trade
Dodonov?
was.
Jesus, how are they so bad at management? Like,
Oh God. There was the hosting of the All-Star game where they had Machine Gun Kelly as the entertainer. In quotations.
And Deke Slayer was there, was like, who the fuck is this?
live Twitter commentary from Deke Slayer at the All-Star game. We did get the highlight of Trevor Zegras' blindfolded move and that kind of breakout at the All-Star game.
Oh yeah, dodgeball.
And probably the reason why we have, probably the reason why he's on the cover, and the Michigan's easier in the game now.
Yeah.
And the other highlight for Vegas, there's one word to describe this. They missed the playoffs for the first time in their club's history.
yeah. Won't happen
guesses?
again.
Any guesses
this
on that
year.
one word?
What?
Oh, no one's going to embrace the
shootout.
No one's going to embrace the historic meme. I'm disappointed.
What?
How
I'm
do you
missing
not know
something.
about the historic meme? That's been everywhere on Twitter and just social media in general.
Well, I'm not on Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I'm
it's
not
been
on
there
Twitter
for
as
years.
much.
Like,
You are.
every time something happens. Like, dude, you'll see it in soccer threads. Like, Messi wins the World Cup for the first time. And then someone in brackets. In Vegas Golden Knights history. Historic.
Oh, I've never seen that.
Wow.
I've seen like the 2021 like colorized memes. And I'm like, yeah, that's fair.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great chance for Sin to dunk on Vegas, but he's completely missed the meme because he doesn't pay attention to teams he finds
Not
irrelevant.
at all. And like the only social media I'm really on at any point is Instagram, and I just have my feed filled with dog videos.
Good call.
Yeah, it's the best.
Good call. Speaking of dogs, the dogs of the desert, the Coyotes and the Mullet Arena debacle. One of the longest fucking arguments this year is just whether or not it's cool, whether or not it's not. Is Gary Bettman embezzling money in the state of Arizona, and that's why he wants to keep them there? Like, people are going nuts. I like Mullet Arena, despite the fact that the Bruins lost there somehow. I don't know. I'm cool with it. Again, I hope that in a few years' time we are talking about the Coyotes, their new arena, things are going well, and hopefully that's the case. Or we'll
then
look
a few
back
years
at the
after that, they'll be fucked again.
Yeah, yeah. God,
Hope not, dude. They need
they
get them
can't
some
catch a break.
solid. No.
Can't catch a break. The Seattle Kraken introduced their first ever mascot, Bowie the
David
Troll.
Bowie.
Why? Like, god damn, they could have had such a sick mascot, and they went with that piece of shit.
Oh my god.
I still don't understand the whole troll thing. It's like, it's
Okay,
a
so-
local thing. Meh.
So here's the best part about it. My friend, who I've been trying to get her to get into hockey for the longest time, I couldn't get it to work, but now she works at like a hat store, like a sports like apparel store as well.
Okay,
And she's
like
like, yeah,
like
I'll
a
get
lid.
it.
She's
Important
not-
details to this story, yes.
She's
Yeah.
not a hatter.
She's a hat. Works at fucking lids, yeah. And I'm like, so like, what do you think about Bowie? Because she's like, Bowie, because I'm a big Seattle fan. That she just tells me, I'm like, so what do you think? He looks wonky, and I love it. Everything deserves love. Why isn't he a giant octopus? Couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
Pretty reasonable.
Where's the lie?
Yeah. And I told her about how it's based on the Fremont Troll, and she's like, yeah, I don't like him anymore.
There you go. And it's one of those things where I do wonder if like my opinion will change as time goes on, because I found Gritty to be the dumbest thing of all time, and I've admitted that Number one, he is, but I was also wrong. He's the dumbest thing of all time, but he's great.
Yes.
I don't know if I'll feel the same way about Bowie. You know, I'm looking at pictures now. I don't think I'm gonna get there.
Just think of it. Just think of if the local Starbucks barista was just like a mascot.
Fair enough.
That's the meme.
God. So I'm looking over the remaining list of stories to kind of recap here. There are some negative ones coming up. Let's get them out of the way. And then we'll talk more positives on the way out. Fuck it. Let's pull the Band-Aid off on this one. The Boston Bruins signing Mitch Miller.
Sorry, I'm allergic to bullshit. That was a genuine sneeze too. Yeah. So there's actually an update to this whole thing.
Yeah, just take it away.
Yeah. Hold on. Where is the tweet that I have here? So apparently, the NHL and the Bruins did an investigation. Well, the Bruins did an investigation, and this basically showed there was no misconduct, meaning that like, hey, we're gonna look at ourselves internally and bring in like a guy who used to be like a Fed to bring us in. So, you know, we're going to trust that guy completely. And they said there's no misconduct by the team, but, you know, they're going to add some new steps to change up the whole entire thing and be more responsible. AKA looking at Twitter for 5 seconds and seeing this is a bad idea. Also, to their knowledge, Mitchell Miller remains under contract and has earned over $100,000 since signing the deal.
Yep, he got his full $95,000 signing bonus.
Yep.
And yeah, the Bruins have, granted a quote-unquote independent investigation, but we have been independently, looked at, and we have found we have done nothing wrong. And Mitch Miller's still under contract and probably will be until presumably they buy him out in the summer of 2023. But at the same time, maybe they don't. Maybe they don't, and they just keep him. Which is my suspicion, is that they're just going to hunker down and just be like, nope, we're keeping him.
So here's the best part about it. I covered that as well, too, because I was curious about it. The only way he can get terminated is if he gets bought out in the summer, or if they both, the team and the player, come to an agreement to terminate the contract early, and he will not receive any more of the money.
Which he's not doing that.
It requires a common ingredient there, and I know Mitch Miller wants to get paid. Because people were confused, like, well, some other guys got their contracts terminated like over this past like month to go play overseas. Like it was like someone from the Leafs and someone from I can't remember where.
The Leafs, it was Axel Rindell and some guys who wouldn't have been playing that much. Nikita Soshnikov left the New York Islanders.
Yeah. Their deals were terminated because they're gonna go play somewhere else, and that's when you can do it if you go to them and be like, yeah, we're gonna terminate itself as well too. And yeah, that's just how it is. Well, there is some good out of that story though. There is some good.
Yeah. You talk about it because I can't.
Okay.
From my perspective,
Isaiah Myers Crothers, the victim of the whole abuse that he received from Mitchell Miller, got to hang out with Wayne Simmons and various members of the HDA and just enjoy some time and have that support that I think that kid desperately fucking needs, because Jesus, like the amount of abuse that he had to go through, and just. There's not many words I can say that I haven't already said about the situation and about the conduct that he had to deal with. It's there's no excuse for it, flat out.
It must feel nice to actually feel like you have some support within the hockey community, because for how long this shit went on, for multiple teams that kept either drafting him or trying to sign him, and also the fact of all those other hockey families coming after him, must make you feel like just the whole fucking world is against you. And I'm glad that at least part of the hockey community just took time to do something.
Meanwhile, Akeem Alou keeps waiting for answers on behalf of the HDA from the NHL 3 years on.
Yep.
Good
luck. Sorry, you weren't quite good enough at hockey. You just didn't hit that tier of being good enough that clearly all these other dudes are that get all the chances. Logan Mayu, Mitch Miller.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted Endo to talk about the positive of the situation because I didn't want it to come off as like, oh, the Bruins fans trying to put the positive spin on it. Like, no, there is no positive spin on the fucking bullshit that they pulled. And yeah, in terms of like, some Lightning fans are like, oh, why'd you say the Bruins embarrassed? Like, no, the Bruins did. They embarrassed themselves. They embarrassed the fucking league in a pretty fucking drastic way. And they continue to have egg on their face over it and will for a very, very long time. Like that.
Yeah.
That management group that made that decision will never live that down. You know, even if the Bruins were to win the Stanley Cup this year, the first two things that will come to mind for people when they think about the managerial tandem of Cam Neely and Don Sweeney will be the 2015 draft and the fact that they signed Mitch Miller and essentially claim that, oh, who could have known? Yeah. And it is one of the bigger stories of this year, and it deserves to be. And it deserves to be a gigantic L that's just constantly pressed up against their faces at this point. It's like, hey, remember when you took this fat L?
Oh, man. Yeah.
God, the Ottawa Senators. Interesting year for them. While granted the success on ice hasn't quite been what they thought, in terms of a competitive standpoint, they took steps forward, acquiring Alex DeBrincat in a trade, signing Claude Giroux. But obviously the biggest story for them this year is the passing of Eugene Melnyk, their owner. And as the year now has gone on, there's been all the talks about, his family that's taken over for the team, selling the team. Again, oddly enough, likely a consortium involving Ryan Reynolds because the NHL very much wants the publicity of Ryan Reynolds being a part owner of the Ottawa Senators because that is tremendous publicity for them. Very weird year. And as we kind of mentioned on the show where, in the aftermath of his passing, a complicated hockey legacy for Eugene Melnyk. And, you can't sugarcoat some of the things. Just because the guy is gone. It wasn't all bad. Definitely a charitable person, but at the same time, in terms of running a sports team, won't go down as one of the best in that aspect.
Yeah.
We'll stick with Canadian teams. Montreal. Carey Price's career likely over, but the continued turnaround for them with, of course, Marty St. Louis as the coach. I mean, we've really seen him allow guys like Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield to flourish. The new management group looks to have done very well with the Kirby Dach trade and the Sean Monahan acquisition, especially. I mean, if they flip him in the next couple of months. So things looking pretty good there. The Leafs did pretty well in terms of trades. I mean, flipping Peter Mrazek, they get Matt Murray. Austin Matthews scored 60 last season. Yes, they lost in the first round to Tampa, but from a Leafs perspective, Endo, not that bad of a year.
That was a good series. That was probably the most confident of a Game 7 that the Leafs have probably had in a long time. And honestly, even Steve Dango was saying, you can't fault that team because that they should have had it the game beforehand, but at the same time, that was just a good game, a good final Game 7.
Yeah. And I wanted to talk about, of course, all three of our teams. So we'll go to the San Jose Sharks. Interesting year for them. You have the turnaround for Erik Karlsson, where heading into the season, one of the more upvoted things on Reddit was the fact that there was a billboard in town essentially calling Erik Karlsson old and broken down. I think it was an advertisement for an appliance store. That's like, do you have old broken down things? Bring them here. And it was a picture of Erik Karlsson.
Holy shit.
Jesus.
That is a thing that happened.
That is fucking gross. Fuck
That's
that
rude.
appliance store.
Even in a city that's not even a hockey town, you don't even see that shit in Toronto. You don't see that in Boston, maybe in Boston a little bit, but you wouldn't see that in Toronto at all. Vancouver, no. Edmonton, for fucking sure, you'd see that in Edmonton.
They don't even have billboards in Edmonton.
Yeah, just put on the pipeline.
Just wheat. Just a lot of wheat.
Oh, just put it on the oil rigs as they're going up there. You know.
Oh fuck!
But the biggest thing for the Sharks this year, you have Mr. Mike Greer, the first black GM in NHL history, leading the Sharks in this new era, making some trades that are a bit questionable in the early stages, but we'll see how it goes. But it was a big year for the Sharks, of course, with Doug Wilson having to step down and everything. But an interesting era for the Sharks at this stage. And if I ask, how do we feel about our three favorite teams from the beginning of the year to this? It's weird for me as a Bruins fan.
Yeah, because you went from low to high.
Because I went from feeling pretty good to they lost to the Hurricanes and didn't do anything at the deadline. Yes, Hampus Lindholm's been a great addition, but I won't let it go that they didn't get a forward at the deadline. Then they lose to Carolina, but then things are looking good again. David Krejci's back, and then they signed Mitch Miller, but they're 18-0-2 at home. I don't know how the fuck to feel about this hockey team.
They fired their coach.
They did fire their coach.
Yeah.
That is a thing that happened.
Yeah, you were not a fan of that at first, and I don't blame you, but my God, that new coach is doing something special.
It's working pretty well, I will admit. For Endo, he and all Leafs fans are feeling probably the same way that they felt, because you had moments this season where it's well, shit, should you fire your coach? And
oh my
should
God.
you do this? And nothing changes.
Oh my God.
Status quo for the Leafs.
Retrospectively, Jesus Christ, the fucking Leaf Nation needs to calm down for a second. We lost 4? Looking back at it, we lost 4 games.
Yeah,
4 games.
They're
4 games. That was a part of the tirade.
Team.
That was fire fucking Keefe. Fucking realistically, it was a bad weekend. We literally had just we had a bender. We had a weekend bender. It's oh man, maybe I should fucking quit my job. No. That's the way I'm seeing it, at least. Jesus.
Yeah, history would show that's how it aged too.
Yeah, Leafs.
Sin for the Sharks.
Yeah.
What's the feeling?
I don't know, man. Fucking trade people. I don't know what they're doing. Yeah, sure. I'm sure they're taking certain offers, but you have a couple fucking pieces that would get really, really, really good returns. You just got to decide how the hell you're going to approach the next few years. Hurdle, quote unquote, the only untouchable. Okay. Are you saying you're not going to sign Meyer? Then you better fucking trade him. He's RFA. You already screwed up on Reimer. You should have traded him early. There was no question we were going to punt on this season. I don't know if he's trying to keep up optics to ownership and be oh yeah, we're going to try hard. Reimer's value is no longer where it was. You fucked it up.
Yeah.
You could have gotten a first for him. You're now lucky to get a second. Stupid. I don't know. Maybe Erik Karlsson gets moved. I don't think so. I don't think he gets moved. I would love it, but I highly, highly doubt that anyone's able to pull that trade off. And
Karlsson,
you know what? If I'm Greer, if I'm Greer, you don't take anything unless it's great, deal wise.
It's kind of a weird time for all three of us. Endo's team's good, but his fellow fan base is ready to burn it down at a moment's notice.
Oh my God.
My team is good, but I can't not feel gross about it. Sin's team is trash, but not as trash as they probably should be for the sake of building things up and getting Connor Bedard.
Yeah.
It's a weird time.
I swear to God, if Anaheim gets him, dude, McTavish, Zegras, Bedard,
Drysdale.
Michigan's all fucking game.
That's the whole strategy.
It's gonna be it's gonna be
they're gonna be playing lacrosse out there. They're not even gonna be fucking handling
never
anymore.
Touch the ice.
It's just they're gonna recreate the LeBron James and Dwayne Wade dunk, but on the ice.
Fucking Kevin Durant's gonna go there next, dude.
My next chapter.
Yeah, dude.
It's just him photoshopped in between Zegras and Sarah Nurse on the NHL 23 cover.
That's beautiful. Oh, it's great.
All right. Well, we have a cover photo for the
Oh my god.
Oh boy.
podcast. Oh my god. Whew. 4 other things to note here when I think of 2022. We have 2 negative ones and then 2 team specific ones. What direction do we go?
Negative. Get it out of the way.
Yeah, get out of the way. I don't
Okay.
want to end on a negative.
Me
Yeah.
either. -1. Chicago can still suck a fat one. There was the Mark Lazarus stuff. Rocky Wirtz very angrily berated me for asking about the Blackhawks and what they're doing to empower players in the future to avoid another Kyle Beach situation. This was the infamous quote, "We're not going to talk about Kyle Beach. We're not going to talk about 2010. We're moving on." So in case you were wondering as to why I rag on that organization every podcast, as I always say, it's not because of the fans. Your owner needs to go.
Yeah, he's a trash human being.
That answer was everything.
At least his son tried to make up for it a little bit.
Wait
but
a
still.
second.
Yeah, and his
Wait
dad
a
fucking
second.
talked down to him like he was 12.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, his
That was, like, a
dad's like,
really
no,
weird
he
dynamic.
like shut him down trying to actually respond to and answer the question.
Yeah,
Does
and
it-
even after,
Wait a
the
second.
son went up to Lazarus and was trying to say something after the fact, and crazy.
Yeah,
They got to
I know
get
what's up.
that.
Hold on a second. Doesn't Rocky Wirtz have a stake in the fucking Tri-City Storm, whatever?
Yes, he does.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, the Tri-City Storm, the USHL team that
Had Mitch Miller?
that Mitch Miller plays on. I don't know if he has an ownership stake, but they are tied to the organization.
Man, that sucks. I
way.
love the Storm for a minute. Their jerseys were cool, but as soon as he was on the team, I'm like, later.
Yeah.
Then he made Player of the Year, some bullshit.
Oh yeah, he was League Player of the Year last year.
Yeah,
Great player.
Gross.
Great player. The other negative, of course, obviously a bit more serious, but we kind of mentioned it this year. Very rough year for passings in terms of just legends of the game. Montreal losing Guy Lafleur, Mike Bossy, Clark Gillies for the New York Islanders. Obviously, more recently, Borja Salming. There was the real fucking tragic death of Brian Marchment the day before the drafts.
Yeah.
And then even, one of the stories for Oilers fans, Ben Stetler, who, just a child that was sick, and the team kind of rallied around and gave him good moments in his final couple of months. Just couldn't quite escape it this year. And yeah, I mean, talking about some of those players mentioned, literally like Hockey Hall of Famers, and like I said, it was never the most fun thing to have to discuss, obviously, but the positive you can take away is that for a Borja Salming, for example, in the aftermath of his passing, a younger generation gets the opportunity to properly learn about this person's contributions to the
Right.
sport. Leafs fans, especially younger Leafs fans, get to learn about just how important Borja Salming was to that organization. So there's always
And
at least
not
a
even-
positive you can kind of
Not
take
even the
away from a really-
organization. Just like
for the
generally, yeah, just hockey itself, because he was like one of the first ones to come over from Sweden, and be not even just like a force, but a dominant force. Like when they played the Canada Cup over there, like the amount of like applause and uproar there was in support for him was insane.
Yeah.
Like you never saw that at that level before. It was like you could say like a trailblazer, but he was like that's all I have to say. Like he's the guy.
The final 2 topics, I wanted to talk about the Pittsburgh Penguins really quickly because it's been a weird year for them. There was the questions over what's next for the team. They keep Crosby, Malkin, and Letang together. They become the longest-serving trio in a major sport. In the history of any major sport in the U.S. / Canada, North America, I guess, in a sense. And just, like you have the highs of Malkin and Crosby, each hit goal 500 on the season in this calendar year, or not on the season, imagine, in their career. And then the crazy news recently of like, hey, Chris Letang had another stroke and he's already back like less than 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
Like just the legacy that those three in particular will have in Pittsburgh. I mean, especially too, this week for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Franco Harris passed away like 3 days before they were finally going to retire his number.
Why did it take him so long?
That's what everyone's saying.
Back when fullback was like legit the most important fucking position, dude. Like
a 4-time Super Bowl champion, a Pro Football Hall of Famer, and unfortunately they waited until age 72 to
the
properly
immaculate reception.
He's literally one of the most legendary NFL players of all time. I didn't understand that. I will hope that the Penguins will not wait until these guys are in their fucking 70s, and I don't think they will, to properly show that Crosby, Malkin, Letang, like cornerstones of the Penguins organization, all three of them, like put them in the rafters tomorrow and no one's going to complain. Our final talking point, and again, these were not in order of importance, certainly. Johnny Gaudreau leaving Calgary.
Yeah.
One of the biggest stories of the year, and the waves that caused when it was clear that he wasn't going to sign there. It turns into what should be a massive move for the Columbus Blue Jackets, their biggest free agent get ever. This season has been totally derailed by injuries for the entire team, so we can't judge that deal yet. Calgary looks like they were screwed. You lose Johnny Gaudreau, and then you're told that Matthew Tkachuk won't sign an extension after the season.
And he wants a trade.
And it was at this point where us and basically everyone else are rightfully saying, this team is fucked. Because how could they not be? The thought of losing those two players. And that brings us to the Jonathan Huberdeau trade. Where again, it was
Uyghur.
Yes, well,
I call it the Huberdeau Uyghur trade because Uyghur is such a fucking good player, man. And Florida's pretty fucked right now. Just saying. Just saying.
So that's the interesting thing, right? I do want to talk about where the two teams are. But the trade ends up being Matthew Tkachuk and a 2025 conditional 4th round pick. The conditions on that pick. If the 2025 first round pick that Florida sent to Calgary is a lottery pick, resulting in Calgary receiving, it will result in Calgary getting, Calgary gets Florida's first rounder instead. Like, basically, there's a bunch of weird conditions on that pick that affects both teams. The Calgary Flames acquire Jonathan Huberdeau, Mackenzie Weegar, Cole Schwindt, and a 2025 first rounder from the Panthers that could be a 2026 first rounder. It's a weird one.
The thing is about, everyone's like, why'd Florida give it the, how do you only accept the 2025 first? Florida does not have first rounders until then.
Yes.
FYI, Florida right now is on a 500 record. Whoever holds their first this season, I don't know if it's lottery protected, but if it's not, they may have a shot.
So right now in the standings, not going off of points percentage, the Florida Panthers are 4 spots back, of Washington for the last wild card spot.
Yep.
Caps are on 40 points in 35 games. The Panthers are 6 points behind them with a game at hand.
Yeah, they have to leapfrog 4 teams. It's not, I never look at how many points, how close are they. It's the teams that you have to pass because they are in dire straits right now.
And Calgary, they are 1 point back of the second wild card spot in the West behind Edmonton.
No.
For the record, because Sin mentioned the Panthers' first round picks. Any guesses, gentlemen, of who owns the Panthers' 2023 first rounder?
Anaheim? Oh no, it's probably Ottawa. Wait. No, that Giroux deal came after.
Calgary.
The Montreal Canadiens.
What?
Oh my God.
As on March 16th of this year, the Canadiens acquired
Oh.
prospect Ty Smolanich, a 4th-round pick that eventually ended up to the Rangers, and a conditional 1st-round pick that is just now outright Montreal having Florida's 1st-round pick this year in exchange on 50% retained salary for Ben Sherratt.
Oh my god.
Wow.
That's so expensive.
Wow.
Oh my god. I forgot that horrible deal.
That's bad.
Yeah.
That's poopy.
Florida
That's
went
no
all
good.
in and just got smoked in so many
Yeah.
ways.
Went all in and everyone left.
God, they were such a good story, and it's all going to be gone now. No reinforcements coming in. Bobrovsky contract. You're spending $14 million on goaltenders. Oh my gosh.
3 days later, the Panthers gave up their 2024 1st-rounder, a 3rd-rounder in 2023, and Owen Tippett in exchange for
Claude
a
Giroux.
5th-round pick in 2024, Connor Bunnaman, German Rubtsov, and Claude Giroux. That is still an active condition on that 1st-round pick next year. If the pick is top 10, Philadelphia will get Florida's 2025 instead. And reminder, there are, I believe, conditions surrounding the other picks there and that other deal involving
how does that
Chuck.
work?
There are just just the picks are up in the air for the Panthers right now. No
Crazy.
idea where the hell they're going to land, essentially. Yeah, they're in a rough spot. Over the next 3 years, they have their 2nd-rounder this year. That's it. Outside of the first 3 rounds, they still have picks. They only have their 3rd-round pick in 2024, and then they don't have their 1st right now in 2025.
Yikes.
For Calgary, they at least have, their 1st and 2nd. They have a 1st and 2nd every year over the next 3 years at the moment. But then there's Montreal that has Florida's 1st this year, Calgary's 1st in 2025, Sean Monahan that they can flip. Dare I say the Montreal Canadiens won the Matthew Tkachuk for Huberdeau trade at this stage. But gentlemen, that was 2022.
Nice.
Yeah.
A lot to talk about in a sense, and just a lot of those moments of like, oh yeah, the Olympics happened this year. A lot of high profile negative stories on one hand. 2022 though. I don't know. Any final thoughts on the year that was?
No.
From a hockey perspective.
Yes. I don't know, man. At this point, a year's a year. No, but it was crazy. At least this one felt like it went by kind of slower. Like looking back, I'm like, oh shit, that was only this year. Okay. Yeah.
The timeline I find for me is still a little bit screwed up, right? In terms of like, what was
I'm
2021?
Still recovering from the COVID shutdown, just fucking with my internal calendar.
Yeah.
Very, very much so. Well, fellas, with that, it was fantastic to have a full calendar year with you two on this show. You stepped in at a time where I wasn't sure what the future of the show was necessarily going to be at the end of 2021.
I'm not the dad, but I'm the dad who stepped up.
Fuck that. The fuck hell? What? That's the whitest thing I've ever fucking heard in my life.
You're welcome. Papa Booey, Howard Stern's penis, Papa Booey.
With that, everybody, thank you for joining us in 2022.
He walked out the room.
Thank you for supporting us here. You can follow Sin on Twitter at SimForTheWinProd, on YouTube at SimForTheWin Productions. Endo is everywhere at Endo Mills, ENDO Mills.
Yeah.
I am everywhere at Tougie24. Thank you for supporting the show. Again, wherever podcasts can be heard or right here on YouTube, perhaps. If you're looking at us right now, you're not looking at Sin. Endo's right.
Gone.
He left.
He's gone.
We will see you all more than likely in 2023.
Hold up.
if Sin comes back.
If Sin comes back, I was gonna say, you can catch me also covering ECL Pro this week with B Major on Tuesday at I think 1:45 p.m. Eastern, covering the greatest and upcoming prospects and teams for the ECL Elite. Hopefully, who knows what we'll see. Yeah, I'm covering that in for B Major, and it's gonna be a lot of fun.
There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Sin, you get the final word for 2023.
I don't know. You can't put me on the spot for a zinger. It has to come naturally. Just like, I can't. Nope. I don't have a good one for that either. I wasted all my good ones on this one.
The perfect way to end this show. We have a great outro, and then we talk for too fucking long, and it's just like, fuck it, whatever.
Yeah.
See you in 2023, everybody.